Hi, I'm Marius
And I'm Tamara Jones.
and we welcome you back to our podcast.
Yes.
So the last episode we talked about the impact of the COVID.
Yes. The pandemic and what it did for the first wave of retraction in this industry.
Right, and then when we were hoping that that's it and we can be back normally working, we were hit by the major two strikes.
Yes, so it seems like as soon as everybody started getting back into, really getting comfortable, maybe people were coming back into the industry thinking that they could. We had strikes, first the WGA,
and then SAG-AFTRA. And it's kind of interesting because we all knew that will happen, obviously. The contracts expired, everybody were prepared, but still was kind of shock for everybody, though.
Yeah, because during this time, you had AI really taking off, and we were seeing interesting things like AI creating entire rap songs from voices of artists, and just doing its own thing, and people were like, oh no, this is a problem because we don't have anything protecting us against this technology.
Right, and then obviously as far as SAG-AFTRA, we didn't have major talks since 2008, 2009. So since then, so many things changed, right? First, obviously AI came later, but But before that, it was the residuals because there was the new platforms, Netflix, Hulu, which nobody even...
All streaming services came about.
And nobody really talked about that in 2008, 2009 because nobody expect that would be completely different pair of shoes, right?
Yeah, we just went into a whole nother expansion of the industry. But,
And the money, which normally, I personally think they should come bigger after the money, right? Because since 2000, 2008, 2009, basically there was no raise, maybe a little bit.
Oh yeah, there was like a couple. I think there was like two since 2000. Well, I didn't join until after that. I was still in high school.
There were two, but they were like $50 each, which is
it only raised like 50. Yeah.
Right, and then everybody expected that this strike will help actually to raise much more, and we end up raising 11% in 3 years, right? Which leave us for this year 4%.
Yeah. So the strikes. So when these strikes started and everything shut down, it was quite a scene because yes, there were performers and there were writers who were totally in solidarity with each other. They were on the picket lines. They were really holding down. They believed in what was happening, and they were demanding fair compensation, fair contracts, and that was one side of it. But what industry execs knew for an absolute fact, you get into the filmmaking side of things, you get into the producer side of things, and then you realize how much of a business this whole thing is, and how important and technical that you have to be in every single step where you will not survive. So they knew what they were doing. They were like, we are going to stretch this out because they wanted to make sure that people were hurting by the end.
Yeah, and obviously in the first few months, there was no really talks with SAG-AFTRA, right?
Yeah.
They were talking about the WGA, so they have to finish talks with WGA to go further with SAG-AFTRA. And then obviously there were so many different voices. Should SAG-AFTRA negotiate with the whole group together, right? Or like some people from the industry, even former CEOs of the huge studios, they suggest that they would be better going with studio by studio. And obviously, that it is complicated. Definitely, if you ask if the strike was necessary, definitely it was, right? But if we achieved, or actors achieved what they were hoping for, that's
absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately, it's not even that the strike was ended in November, right, 2023. We already in May 2024, and we're still in a very big, deep
hole. And the thing is, it's so interesting because they got, the execs. See, when they did come to their conclusion, they did it in November, which everyone knows that in this industry, we have a very, very long winter break. Like there's they did it right before the holidays. And this is the slowest time in the industry, especially like for independent projects. But like for anybody, they get to go off on their vacations for like a month and everything shuts down. So there was still a period of starvation even after that. By this point, you can only imagine there was another wave of dropping out from both the crew and performers and just people in this industry.
And just remember, right before the strike was over, right, they also canceled so many shows that's supposed to be shooting in spring. So yes, few shows came back, but majority of them they're not.
Even more canceled.
More canceled. There was no really pilot season.
And so now we're at a point where we're taking this from January when everything is starting back up after break. At that point, you had such a huge percentage of workers in this industry going away, and you had a huge percentage of actual jobs, production shows, productions in general. They were completely, shut down. And so this is now causing what you guys would probably see going around in headlines as the great industry contraction, because now we're starting to see it affect the other sectors of this industry. And like you were saying, we've seen agencies closed. Now that's a huge one.
Right, and we're not talking about the boutique small agencies, right, or management. So first closures you saw during the pandemic, right, when some agent manager passed away, and then they closed the agency, right?
Managers,
and that was obviously completely uncontrolled. But then the second wave, which is related to the strikes, right? Some agency cannot exist anymore.
Yeah, this is about the economy now.
And this is about the economy. This is about the money, paying the agent, paying the managers, and
they just don't have enough. I mean,
not enough jobs.
You don't have enough jobs, and you really don't even have enough clients. And I was speaking to a casting director recently, and she was, very candid, and she was just like, what is left now of the performers is so different, because you are walking on eggshells from both sides, from both the production side and from the talent side. She was saying that, like, you're not getting auditions on time anymore. People are canceling left and right. The commitment,
which is amazing, right? You would think that after 4 years pandemic, another half a year of the strike, you would think that when the actors would get the audition, they would be so happy to do it and they would do it on time. Now we never saw that many declines, either reported or not, because we're talking about if somebody call us and say, okay, I cannot take it because, right? But we have so many declines, and the clients, they don't even care to let us know that they're not doing
this. Yeah, they don't even notify anyone that they're not going to do it. This is so... and she, on the other end, was like, and I want to just, normally, before all of this industry was so tight. This was a very, very competitive industry. When you got an email from a casting director, you got an audition, you were responding immediately. Right. You were stressed if you didn't see it until an hour later. You were stressed. And if you got an audition, you tried to do it the same day, unless it was like something huge, but you're still doing it in the next couple of days. You don't even think about declining. That's not even a thought.
And now we were talking about changing the rules, the rule 48 hours, right? That the client should get that 48 hours to respond to tape. But at the same time, it looks like, and I don't want to say this, but like nobody cares anymore. So you either in this industry and care about your career or not.
And she's like, I can't even get mad at them because there really aren't people replacing them. And I would say the biggest reason is because during this time, you know, these sudden stops, a lot of people saw the outcome of the pandemic, of what that had on the industry. We're going through it right now with our current economy. We are feeling what was happening from the pandemic. But imagine if you had two separate kind of pandemics that happened. This is what this industry experienced. And so people have families, people have to live. You know, this is a very expensive city, and it didn't get cheaper. And so people had to actually commit to a full-time separate job in another industry. So now you have people who have completely different careers, and they're just doing this on the side, and it's like in massive.
And that's raised my question though. So should they even have the agents and representation, right, and waste time of the representation?
Well,
or just let it go because this is not really what they want to do anymore, or they cannot afford to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those conundrums. Like, this is the state that we're in now. What are the answers? Because if an actor is, you know, everybody, I'm sure it's very easy for the great majority of people who are listening to understand that, like, when you're struggling financially, it's not just, oh, I'm struggling financially, and that's it. It's like, no, that's affecting everything.
Right.
Your mental state,
yep.
your everyday choices. Like, you don't get to go out with friends as much. You're really feeling a lot of pressure, and then you have this career that you love, this passion that you loved. But if you're homeless, if you become homeless,
right.
how are you gonna do anything? So it really is what is the right answer? You know,
maybe it is the time for some people, right? Just make decision. Sometimes very, very hard decision. You know, from the beginning, you're actors, right? For so many years. So, you know, you have to be 100% in. There's nothing in between, or nothing half. You're not half an actor.
Yeah.
You're not making career being a half an actor, right?
Yeah.
You know me, and as I always say, don't give up your dreams. You always should try to get your goal, right?
Yeah.
But that's something, I mean, this is your life, and you cannot, and this is not just your life. There's also the life, the people around you, and people who try to help you, either the manager or agent or anybody in your team.
Yeah. If people are looking for that advice out there, you do have one tiny saving grace. And this is why I believe that more now than ever, the independent industry is such a key factor in all of this, because if you really do have to make this your side commitment because you just cannot trust, whether you have a family, whether you just have to like live and eat, you can't trust this industry to be reliable anymore, the mainstream side of this industry. You can get away with that a little bit more in the independent world. Not that you should be breaking your commitments. Don't do that ever. You know, don't be a trash human and make promises and then break the promises. Even if something comes up, understand your situation before you make those promises. But that being said, if you have to have something on the side, the people who are going to work with you are going to be in the independent field. This is not like a student film. That's not what I mean. I'm independent. You cast for independent films, so independent films are still attached to agencies, but you're going to get a little bit more forgiveness from an independent producer, an independent director, than you will from someone who has got the executives on their back watching everything going on and needing to, have high demand. They have high demand because it matches their high budgets. But yeah, I think that's your only saving grace for me.
So, in addition to what you say, Tamara, I think you have to stress one thing, and this is very important, and more people in industry talking about the same thing. I mean, you have to read the news, the industry news. You are in this industry, right? You cannot be completely blank about the things that's going on around you, right? And you have access to so many great sources of the news, and you don't have to spend money.
Yeah, industry news. I mean, anywhere. Just keeping up to date with what's going on, because things are rapidly progressing and changing every single week. Like, you've got something, you either have major closures of productions, or you have like different streaming platforms, and these services are changing their entire frame, their frame of work, their frame of production, their frame of streaming. And so you want to really be on top of that and know like what's going on and what's coming around the corner.
And it will be easier. And again, any news you can read via IMDb. You have all the major news from Variety, Deadline, Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah. Not celebrity news, by the way. Don't even rot your brain with dumb celebrity news, because that's just trying to distract you and get
right. But just the facts, right?
Yeah.
And then
studio news.
The studio news. So definitely you want to read every day, few minutes a day, all the major news from the industry, and this is to help you with your decisions, with your progressing your career in this industry.
Yeah, especially seeing where your fellow performers are moving in waves. It's nice to know what everyone is doing. Well, I guess that really concludes it for that section of this is the updates of how this industry looks after the pandemic and then the following strikes. Things are shaky. The industry is on eggshells. If this is your passion and you're in this industry, this is the time now more than ever that you have to really put everything into it. Reading the news, keeping updated, reaching out to people, responding really fast. You're going to be noticed very easily now. So that's a good thing about it. But also, things are unstable. The industry contraction is a real thing right now. And so if you are working on a project, consider yourself lucky and do your darn best to make sure those people call you back. And
always try to improve your acting, your craft.
Your craft in anything. Yeah. If you're writing, directing, producing, you've got YouTube University, and it is accurate. Yeah. Look, it's accurate. I don't care what anybody says.
And that said, we have, for the next episode, our first guest, and we already inviting you to listen to it, because that will be a very amazing story.
It's such a good story. In the next episode, we're going to be highlighting from this guest's perspective of what happens when you're facing a health crisis in this industry, and how, in
addition to pandemic and a strike.
Yeah, so please subscribe so that you don't miss any episode.